How many from consulting? Oh, that's bad.
In this viral 3-minute video, Steve Jobs shares his opinion on consulting. Is he right? Well, maybe he is, but it's a bit more nuanced, so let's dive in and check it out. This is a spontaneous discussion that took place in 1992 at MIT. Apparently it's an MBA class, since Steve assumes everyone in the room has work experience. So when asking what kind of experience the students have, this happens.
How many of you from Wall Street? Good. Good. How many of you are from manufacturing companies? Oh, excellent. Where are the rest of you from? Oh, how many from consulting? Oh, that's bad. Yeah. A mind is too important to waste. You should do something.
Wait, why is that bad if a consultant can come into a company and use your system and basically build their applications in ridiculously short amounts of time and show them a working product?
The only consultants I've seen that I think are truly useful are the ones that help us sell our computers. But other than that...
Alright, interesting. So Steve says the only useful consultants are the ones helping to sell computers. Not sure what he means here. It may be a consultant devising a sales strategy, but more likely he refers to what is now known as an Apple genius. So the guys selling Macs and iPhones in the Apple stores today. And that's definitely not consulting as we understand it. What he does refer to is consultants developing applications, and he doesn't take kindly to them. Again, this is not exactly the management consulting or strategy consulting we usually talk about on this channel. Consultants delivering an actual application, a technical piece of software, that's a niche in consulting. And by today's standard, it also seems weird. Apple and all the big tech giants develop their own software, so a consultant doing that seems a bit odd to us. But hey, that's more than 30 years ago. Anyways, he's going to get more general now, so let's listen in.
No, seriously, I don't think there's anything inherently evil in consulting. I think that without owning something over an extended period of time, like a few years, where one has a chance to take responsibility for one's recommendations, where one has to see one's recommendations through all action stages and accumulate scar tissue for the mistakes and pick oneself up off the ground and dust oneself off.
Steve Jobs definitely has a point here. As a consultant, you are per definition an advisor. You're giving recommendations to your clients, but the ultimate decision whether to act on your recommendations and implement them is on the client. At first glance, there's nothing at stake for the consultant and everything's at stake for the client. However, consulting, especially strategy consulting, usually involves long-lasting client relationships. You're really building trust between the organization and its leaders and the consultants, even on a personal level. For a junior consultant, this might matter less because he doesn't have to bring in new business. That's not his job. But for a junior partner or a partner, it's important to secure new projects on a regular basis. And so there is something at stake for you if you give your client bad recommendations. You might ruin a long-standing client relationship, or a project with a new client remains a one-off. A successful partner has established him or herself as a trusted advisor for a number of C-level executives. And after serving them for many years, a strong professional relationship often also develops into a personal friendship. So yes, the stakes for the client are much higher than for the consultant, but your career at the consulting firm might also be at stake. You're not surviving for very long if your recommendations are bad. Okay, let's continue.
One learns a fraction of what one can. You're coming in and making recommendations and not owning the results, not owning the implementation, I think is a fraction of the value and a fraction of the opportunity to learn and get better. And so what you do get a broad cut at companies, but it's very thin. It's like a picture of a, I'm a vegetarian so I won't use steak, but it's like a picture of a banana. You might get a very accurate picture, but it's only two-dimensional. And without the experience of actually doing it, you never get three-dimensional. So you might have a lot of pictures on your walls. You can show it off to your friends. You can say, look, I've worked in bananas, I've worked in peaches, I've worked in grapes, but you never really taste it. And I think that's what I think.
So Steve makes the point that you don't learn as much if you're not developing and implementing a project end to end. To use his analogy, you only get to see the banana in 2D and not in 3D. So you only get to see the layers of the business, but not the full one, including implementation. This is definitely a very valid point, and especially true if you are more senior. Once you climb the corporate ladder, you know the organization inside and out, and much better than any consultant ever could. But for juniors, it's different. If you're joining a large corporate as a fresh graduate, you won't see much of the organization. You might work in the marketing department for some years, or you're responsible for a small part in a small step of a big project. So you don't get to see things end to end either. Meanwhile, a junior consultant often gets a great overview of the organization relatively quickly and understands the big transformational projects. Yes, it might not be at the deepest level across the board. Or as Steve puts it, you only get a 2D picture of the banana. But the argument can be made that this isn't even bad. If you're a consultant focused on tech, you might get to see Apple, IBM, and Oracle within your first year in consulting. You only get to see it in 2D, yes. But even so, it's valuable to see the best practices at these companies, at least on a high level. And then you can still deep dive and own a process end to end. This can happen in two ways. The first is you become more senior and you focus on your core clients. Will you be involved in each step of the execution? No, but you will learn what the hurdles in the implementation are because you are in a long-term relationship with the client. The second way to go end to end, you exit consulting and join a corporate. Corporates value that you're familiar with the best practices across many companies. Yeah, you weren't always involved in every step at the deepest level, but you've seen a lot and you can put it into the proper strategic context. If you're interested in the exit opportunities after a career in consulting, check out our video on that topic. Another aspect here is time. Steve only touches this briefly at the beginning of the video when he mentions this.
I think that without owning something over an extended period of time, like a few years.
Let's say you find a corporate job that lets you own a project end to end. So after 2 years at the corporate, you've seen one project end to end. After 2 years at the MBB firms, depending on the types of projects you do, you might have around 8 projects under your belt. Will you work on them end to end? Nope. But nonetheless, you will learn a lot. In our experience, a fresh graduate learns much more in 2 years in consulting compared to spending 2 years at an often slow-moving corporate. That also has to do with the fact that you're simply working at least 50% more each week. Check out our video on the working hours in consulting for insights. For more senior people, the picture can look much more like Steve describes it. And so any consultant at some point has to ask him or herself, do I want to be a consultant for life or do I want to jump ship? And for the vast majority, it's the latter, which means they leave eventually. Alright, I think there's one more point Steve has to make.
You're also a variable expense, and in hard times you find yourself variable, right?
Here Steve is 100% right. Consulting is a variable expense. Consulting budgets are often among the first things to get cut. We won't address this in detail here, as we have a whole video dedicated to the current crisis in consulting. If you're interested, feel free to check it out. So what's our overall take? Well, Steve is definitely right in a lot of ways. Even if the video is more than 30 years old, the points he made are valid. But we do think that all the benefits of a consulting career should also not be discounted. It's not a corporate lifestyle, it's a different experience and it's an intense experience. And we think there's hardly anything better that allows you to grow professionally faster within the first couple of years of your career. But what do you think about Steve Jobs' take on consulting? What's your personal experience? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, Don't forget to like and subscribe and activate the bell for more content like this. Let us know in the comments below if you have any questions or if there's a topic you'd like us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.